the story of how I learned to ride a bike is actually really wholesome. So when I was in primary school in Liverpool, I was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. I couldn't ride a bike. It just never really came up, right? You know, like we moved to the UK, I'm like 3, 4 years old, and then we get adjusted in Liverpool, going to the primary school. It never really came up that I didn't, like, you know, I needed to ride a bike or anything. I lived next to the primary school, so I didn't need it for like commuting or anything. And it just really just like it just never came up. Like none of my friends used to ride them around the street or anything. So, you know, we just like literally just play outside of our house with like playing football and stuff. So it just never came up that I needed to ride a bike. But I kind of knew I couldn't. Maybe I'd tried it once or something. And suddenly in my school, they're doing some kind of like bike safety day. And they start like the teachers comes in and they're starting to like plan this thing on Friday, which is like, okay, everyone brings in their own bikes. Everyone gets given helmet, and then we learn like how to ride a bike safely and everything, right? And so literally I'm starting to feel pressure straight away. I'm like, it's just assumed that all of us can ride a bike, and I know it's like an embarrassing thing if you can't. And literally all of the girls seem like they can ride it, all the boys. I'm like, I genuinely felt pressured and like so like insecure. I'm like literally dying inside. Like she's going around the classroom asking everyone like, have you got a bike that you can bring in? Have you got a bike? Have you got a bike? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'll just tell her like, yeah, I just don't have a bike, so that's fine. So I say, yeah, like she asks, okay, put your hand up if you don't have a bike. I put my hand up, and there's like 2 people, right? It's just me and some other kid, right? And then she asks the student and like pretty much my friends, she says like, oh, has anyone got like a second bike, like of their brothers or something that Hamza and this other kid could use? And one of like my friends puts his hand up that he's got a spare bike that I could use. And as soon as he did that, I went like, oh yeah, give it to him, like he really wants it. So I'm like passing it, outsourcing it onto like the other kid. Just shy and everything, don't know how to ride, right? And I don't know if something got organized or whatever, but it comes to the day Friday, and it's supposed to be like a whole day or whatever it was, right? And I just tell like my mom like, oh yeah, it's just a bike day, and like I'm sick anyway. I don't know if my mom ever knew if I was taking the piss or not, but like I think I got the day off school, and I think I probably would have brought it up to my dad. Oh yeah, like I want a bike, I want to be able to learn and stuff. And I tried to learn for a while, right? So we were literally in Liverpool, and I was trying to learn how to ride a bike there. And I remember one of my best friend's little brother was trying to teach me for like over the course of like a couple of weeks, and I just couldn't get it. Like he wasn't that good of a teacher, but like he just like, you know, just it wasn't working. And you know, I was trying to learn on his bike, and I couldn't get the handle of it. I couldn't get like just started on it. I couldn't get like, you know, into the flow of it or anything. I couldn't get the hang of it. The balance was all wrong. You know, I could step off with my feet, of course, but then I just couldn't balance it and everything. And I think I probably would have ended up like maybe learning there or something, but the environment or the safety kind of changed. Like so this was near our last like year of being in Liverpool, and then suddenly our family's like being attacked by racists like very often. Suddenly like I'm not allowed to play outside anymore, and there's like a group or like a gang of racist guys who were just very consistently coming around and throwing eggs at our house. And one day they threw a brick through the front window and also through my dad's car. Every like 2-3 days you just heard like the thuds of like eggs clapping against the window, and then just like the Scouse accent just screaming like packy packy, like all this. And my father installed like the CCTV, and we'd see them sometimes like jump over our fence. I'd look up to the window, like try and open up the you know, the post box and everything. Like so that kind of like stalled me being able to ride a bike out in public. I just kind of stayed inside after that. But then eventually, like that was the whole thing that happened. Like I've just breezing past some like, you know, big life event that happened to my family. That happened for a good few months, and I remember it being like extremely stressful for my family. And you know, we weren't wealthy or anything, so it was like a difficulty to try and think of moving away and everything. And eventually we ended up moving to Warrington, to this house where we are now. I've literally just breezed past that story of like literally getting attacked by racists, but it was very bad. It's gonna be in full detail if you are interested. Like my book will be released probably about 6 to 7 months from now, and we have like pretty much a full chapter on just that part of my life where like literally just like my family's being attacked and everything. It was very like racist times, and a black kid had been brutally murdered like close by as well in a racist attack. Like, Liverpool was just very racist at this time. It's very different now, but I tell the full story in my book, but that'll come out soon. So we ended up escaping from that and ended up moving to Warrington, where thankfully like everything was safe and everything. And so my dad actually bought me a bike here, and I take it outside, you know, expecting, okay, this is it, I'm going to learn how to ride. And it's the exact same thing. I can, you know, move the pedal a little bit, but then I just wobble. I just couldn't get it. My brother's trying to help me. My brother can ride, my sister can ride, they're trying to help me. Some of my friends from school, they try. It was just not working. Up until one day, like we all go out on our bikes and we go to this like long strip, like, you know, of like pavement, right? So we can just ride like safely and everything. We go there. And my dad did something different. I think this is pretty much like the first time he actually tried to like help me to ride. I don't know if I asked him for help to come out or not, whatever. Or maybe he didn't even know that I couldn't ride. But I don't think I told many people. So anyway, we're all there. My brother and sister just messing around. They're on their bikes, no problem. I'm feeling insecure. I'm literally just like not pedaling. I'm like pushing with my feet, trying to follow them. And so my dad just does something completely different to what anyone else had done to try and help me. He puts me on the bike and he holds it still, like he holds it steady, right? And he starts to tell me, okay, pedal, like he's balancing the bike for me. So he tells me to pedal and the bike starts moving, and he starts walking along with it. And he tells me pedal harder, and then he starts jogging with it. And he just pedal harder, like he's shouting at me, and he says like, no, look up. So like, stop looking out, just look up. Pedal harder. Now he's literally running next to me holding the bike, and then he just lets go. And literally like that, I can ride a bike now. It was that simple. Just like that, it just unlocked, and I knew how to ride a bike. I knew how to even go from the start by myself now. And the lesson is all about momentum. Through all of that time, I needed momentum. It was so hard to go from like 0 to 1, to go from like a stationary bike. And I was like, what I was doing wrong was like, I was on a stationary bike trying to like pedal, but without knowing that to like, you know, be balanced on a bike, you've got to be moving forward. You can't really balance on a bike just being like still, right? Maybe, you know, some guy who's in like the Guinness World Book of Records or some weird balancing kid or something, they can just like sit on a bike like that. But generally, if you just sit on like a cycle, you are just going to topple over to one side. But when you're actually pedaling forward, that doesn't happen. You needed momentum. I didn't realize this, and obviously I was young then, so I didn't think, the value of momentum. But years later, thinking back about that story, you know, because learning to ride a bike, especially when your dad's helped you, such like a wholesome, like even for girls, but, you know, childhood experience. You need momentum, and that's how things fall into place. And you know, this is actually a piece of advice that a former Royal Marine like commando has even told me as well. Like the first ever interview I did, like I got into podcasting like interviews very early on in this channel, like literally 2020 or something. And I interviewed this guy who was a Marine commando, and he actually told me this advice as well. He said, essentially, you need momentum. You need to take one step in front of the other, and that makes the task so much easier. Like too often, you just see the task as this big whole thing instead of thinking, okay, what's the smallest thing? Like, what's the first step that we can take? With that momentum, you're able to then tackle on the rest of the task.